Interview question: what is your greatest weakness? What's the best way to talk about weaknesses at job interviews? When you're asked about your weakness or aspects about yourself that you want to respond, it's important to respond carefully. You don't want to cast any doubt on your ability to do the job. However, you also don't want to come across as arrogant or dishonest by claiming that you don't have any weaknesses. There are several different ways to answer when you're asked during a job interview what your greatest weakness is. You can mention skills that aren't critical for the job, discuss skills you have improved on, or turn a negative into a positive. How to answer what is your greatest weakness? Even though the question is about weaknesses, your answer should always be framed around positive aspects of your skills and abilities as an employee. Discuss non-essential skills. One approach to answering this question is to analyze the key skills and strengths required for the position you are interviewing for, and then come up with an honest shortcoming that is not essential for success in that job. For example, if you are applying for a nursing job, you might share that you are not particularly adept at conducting group presentations. In this case, it will be critical to underscore your strength in one-on-one communication with patients while providing an example of your difficulty with presentation. Mention skills you have improved. Another option is to discuss skills that you have improved upon during your previous job, or that you are actively working on improving. This shows the interviewer that you're committed to self-improvement. In this case, you can begin your answer by talking about where you started, discussing the steps you took to better yourself, and then mention the outcome. For example, you might say, "One skill I improved in the past was my salesmanship skills. As a product manager who works with internal teams and does not interface with clients or sales prospects, I don't do much, if any, selling in my role. However, since I do communicate quite frequently with the sales team, I felt it might benefit me to have a greater understanding of their sales strategies and tactics. I took a sales skills course online and not only did it improve how I work with sales teams. Now, when I join sales meetings, I have a much better idea of what's going and feel more effective communicating with the sales team. This course also helped me build upon the skills I use to sell my vision for the." If you use this strategy, be sure not to mention anything that you improved upon that would be critical to the job for which you are interviewing, as you don't want your qualifications for the job to be questioned. Turn a negative into a positive. Another option is to turn a negative into a positive. For example, a sense of urgency to complete projects can be turned into a positive, e.g., you are a candidate who will make sure a project is done on time. Or, perhaps you find yourself with an attention to detail that leads you to triple-check every item on a spreadsheet and proofread every email you sent 2 times. Regardless of what you say, it is critical to indicate that you are aware and mindful of this trait, and capable of preventing it from interfering with your productivity. For instance, building on the example above, you might say, "I have a very strong attention to detail." Sometimes, this attention to detail can turn into perfectionist tendencies. In the past, I found this leading me to triple-check every item on a spreadsheet, or closely proofreading emails to ensure I've communicated what I'm trying to get across in a clear, concise way, or fiddling with the layout of a presentation to ensure that it is perfect. I've since learned to successfully budget my time and gauge which tasks require, and actually benefit from, this precise attention to detail. Keep in mind that how you answer job interview questions about weaknesses matters just. Examples of the best answers. It's important to note that the term weakness isn't used in the sample answers. You always want to focus on the positive when interviewing. Organization hasn't always been my strongest point. I've always been inclined to prioritize tasks that directly impact the bottom line, and maintaining a pristine desk or an organized inbox didn't seem to truly move the needle in terms of my output. Over time I've learned that keeping a clean workspace, both physically and digitally, do support my ability to focus and enhance the efficiency of my workflow. I've implemented a time management system that enables me to stay organized without encroaching on my other responsibilities. When I'm working on a project, I don't want just to meet deadlines. Rather, I prefer to complete the project well ahead of when it is due. While this means I never miss a deadline, it also means that sometimes I can find myself rushed when I'm working. I've since learned to slow down, be more patient and give each project the careful attention it deserved. I like to make sure that my work is perfect, so I tend to perhaps spend a little too much time checking it. However, I've come to a good balance by setting up a system to ensure everything is done the first time correctly. I also time myself when I work to prevent myself from spending too much time on one project, and guaranteeing I'll have enough time to get to the rest of my work. I used to wait until the last minute to set appointments for the coming week, but I realized that scheduling in advance makes much more sense. I'm now much more proactive about scheduling meetings, and this allows me to plan and segment out my work for the week without having to guess at when I'll need to leave time for meetings. I've learned to make my perfectionism work to my advantage. I have become proficient at meeting deadlines, and with my attention to detail, I know my work is accurate. Sometimes, I spend more time than necessary on a task or take on tasks personally that could easily be delegated to someone else. Although I've never missed a deadline, it is still an effort for me to know when to move on to the next task, and to be confident when assigning others work. In my recent position, I implemented a project management tool that allowed me to easily oversee the progress of all the tasks I assigned, which helped me feel much more comfortable delegating work. Numbers have not always been my strong suit. Fortunately, as a copywriter, I can focus most of my time on the creative process of writing rather. However, in recent years I have begun to familiarize myself with the digital analytics tools used in the various websites and apps I write for, and found that when you add context, numbers can actually be quite enlightening. I used to like to work on one project to its completion before starting on another, but I've learned to work on many projects at the same time, and I think it allows me to be more creative and effective in each one. As an undergrad, I used to leave assignments until the last minute, but with the workload of graduate school, I had no choice but to schedule my time very effectively. This has translated into an excellent sense of time and project management in my professional work. My biggest weakness is public speaking. It is something that I've spent a lot of time working on and in which I've improved a great deal. I'm very comfortable in smaller meetings with my teams. But when I present an idea or concept to a larger audience, I still experience some stage fright. At this point, I can handle these situations professionally, but I would like to be more comfortable in these moments. Answer interview questions about being a team player. Are you a team player? You'll hear that question in pretty much every interview you'll ever participate in. That's probably because working on a team is crucial to nearly much every position, from entry level to director. Here are some points to consider and the best ways to answer. Understand the nature of teamwork. Before you answer, consider how you best contribute to a team. Do you get along easily with people? Are you an effective collaborator? Can you communicate with people from various backgrounds and with different personalities? Can you motivate people? Do you know how to push back tactfully? Can you mediate conflicts? Can you deal with difficult personalities? Tips for answering interview questions. When talking about teamwork and relating anecdotes to share your accomplishment, keep these suggestions in mind. 1. Stick with recent examples. Try to choose an example from the past unless something older is especially impressive. Relaying an outdated story about how you worked with a team to get the whole company access to high-speed internet doesn't grab attention. 2. Toot your own horn. Pick an experience that shines the spotlight on you and shows how you contributed to a team that achieved spectacular results. 3. Consider relevance. Relay an example that's most relevant to the company you're interviewing with. Draw the parallel so they can see how you'd succeed on a team with them. 4. Add value. Choose an example that serves to demonstrate added strengths in addition to teamwork. 5. Focus your response. Highlight your story in bullet point form.
Sample answers about working on a team. I enjoy working in a team environment, and I get along well with people. In my past work experience, I implemented a system to help organize the communication between my coworkers to enhance our productivity as a team. I believe that I have a lot to contribute to a team environment, and am comfortable in both leadership and player roles. I'm outgoing, friendly, and have strong communication skills. I prefer teamwork. Different team members contribute different perspectives, and the synergy between team members can produce creative and productive results. Collaborating with others helps to teach you more about yourself and your own strengths and weaknesses. Are you a better listener than a leader? Are you better at coming up with big ideas or putting them into action? Working in teams is both beneficial and challenging. It can help develop communication, negotiation, and problem-solving skills while enabling you to share ideas. It can also be more enjoyable since we all like to belong. However, it's also a challenge in that it exposes you to new and perhaps unfamiliar ways of working along with new ideas that you might not be comfortable with. Teamwork gives me a greater sense of responsibility in creating unity among the team members, and thus helps to further my professional development. I think it's also a fruitful process in that team members with certain strengths balance out people with certain weaknesses, and we can all learn from each other. I think teamwork leads to increased productivity and performance. Groups that have a good synergy can achieve more than employees working on their own. Teamwork brings together people with a broad range of skills and allows me to deepen my understanding of a particular challenge. Teamwork helps me sharpen my interpersonal skills, speaking confidently and assertively while also actively listening to others. It's a great scenario in which